So anyway, this strand is the one that was on this side that we stuck, and I'm slowly going to tension it up because it's got 1.5 rotations to get back to home. This one is also. So that's now tensioned up. Crank down on the black one. So sometimes I'll put a pin in it, whether I'm shooting a video or not, and leave the whip. I always tension it up before I pin it. That way it can't, it's less likely to slip and move around in a way that's detrimental. You can't really do that if you're plating, wet leather. So like if you wet stretch the leather and it's still got some dampness to it, once you start plating, you need to finish the plating whether or not, because you'll never get the hydration back to the same level, and it's just frustrating. Plus it's a natural material, so you tension it all up, it'll be beautifully tensioned, and then if you haven't taken all the stretch out of it before you started, it will do its own thing because it's literally tan skin. Where Paracord's a much more consistent product. Make most of my whips out of Paracord. It's less expensive in many ways, less maintenance. It's Dyneema. I've done some Dyneema. I've done some Spectra, which is same basic fiber. Aramids, braided whips out, fire whips out of Aramids. If you ever wonder if you're faster than I am, congratulations. I used to braid stuff a whole lot faster than I do, but I noticed that my tensioning wasn't as good when I went fast as when I go slow, and there's something soothing about just getting a rhythm going. I don't have to think, I can just do. So I've done this enough, especially if I do it at this speed. If my hands start to go numb because I'm putting too much stress on the fingers, or if my calluses evaporate, which is slowly happening with this whip, I'll give it up and let it hang for a day. Let my calluses recover. But if you ever wonder why sometimes I post part 1, 2, and 3, it's because I don't like to edit out a whole bunch of stuff, but I also don't want to bore people to death, so I never know whether I should just post the whole thing while I'm talking and somebody finds some gem of wisdom in the gibberish I'm saying, because I think of different things as I'm doing this. But I love this 275 material, although it's rougher on the hands than 550. But I really love the whipmaker cord because I can make a much smoother, thinner whip. And if I wanted to put 2 plated bellies in it, plus the overlay, all in a 1-inch diameter hilt, a whip that's 3/4 of an inch or 6/10 of an inch in diameter at the base of the thong, going to 1/8 of an inch up here, There's very few materials I can actually do that with, because most materials are not as thin as the whipmaker cord. Plus the whipmaker cord, 1,000 foot of it's a really tiny spool, and there's no having to pull the cords out of it. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is literally, so this is 4 inches. So 1, get the black back up on top so the other black is in the middle. But smoothly adding and smoothly dropping strands is an art form in and of itself. So I always wonder why people order white whips, but if you can keep them clean, they do look nice. But you drop them once in the dirt and they'll never be white again. Okay, so now I'm going to tension all these. You can see it's starting to flatten out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 strands on the right side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. One neat part with this design is this free floats up here. You can chuck this back and it chucks right back down and evens it out. So because the core free floats underneath this layer, it has a tendency to, if you get it all out of sorts, you can kind of bump it back and bump it out. So now we've got about 7 foot, basically. So 7 foot is like 3.5 feet on either side. This will bring us up to 28 plate from 24. And the next bump will bring us to 32. In case you're wondering or missed the first video, I'm splitting so that I can use this hook that I've got on the wall just out of camera to quickly peel all the guts out of this 275 paracord. I'll tie an overhand knot in it just to keep it from getting gummy. Center bight. Make sure I don't have it in my pocket. Make sure the scalpel's not in my pocket that I was using earlier. Hey, it's been going 37 minutes on this run. Something's going good. Something's going well. Okay. Top strand above the white black. Bottom strand below the black. Top strand above the black. Bottom strand below the black. The more strands you're trying to manage, the harder this whole process gets. Okay, so black. Now we're going under 7/7. So there's 6 white strands on the top of the black strand. Onto the black strand. Make sure that all 4 strands are set. Crank on this one. After the black strand. That one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have to make sure that I'm under the strand that's not anchored yet. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The black strand. Congratulations if you've hung in there here this long. You must be interested in whips or breeding. Just double checking and making sure I've got everything in the right place. Because if you don't, you'll have a hard time with strand management. You'll have to unbraid it, fix it. Make sure you're splitting 7 and 7. Okay, so the top strand here should be the anchored strand. Nope, the anchored strand is the second strand. Nope, first strand is the anchored strand. I was right the first place. And now this strand goes all the way through. And you can see it move. It goes between these two. You can see it move a little bit. You can't really pull hard on that one, so you just have to lay it where it goes. This one you can pull gently tight, which is the other half of that strand. Right around. And now the black strand over here. Pull it in line so it lays nice. And I'd love to hear from other whip makers or people that are interested in whips. Feel free to message me at pocketsnakes@pocketsnakes.com. Or you can shoot me a message on one of my videos, including this one. I don't always catch the likes so quickly. Whoops. Here I go again. So if you do pull it too far, you can always find the center bight again, like so. So gently lay this one in. We can snug it up from the other side once we pin it. So at the very bottom we have the two whites that we just added, separated by the black. And we can just get back to the normal platting. But this is, I call this as a 4 to 32 plate build, 4-32. So it goes from 4 plate up there to 32 down. For about half of it, it's a 32 plate. In the case of this is 30 inches long. So it's 2.5 feet, but 30 inches, 15 inches will go from 4 plate to 28 plate. And then somewhere before halfway it'll go to 32 plate. And the bolster doesn't quite go to halfway for the second bolster. There's two bolsters. It's a spiral wrapped bolster. So it's one piece of cord laid in opposite directions, creating compression and tension. You can literally watch the diameter get crunched down by all this pressure. I'm probably at 45 pounds or so at this point. It's probably way more than I need. But it's about all my hands can put into this material. And the layers below it have some air space or some squish, so it'll compact the core, which is kind of what you want. And it creates both tension and compression at the same time by adding the extra tension to it. Hey, it's been going 47 minutes and hasn't fouled out, so that's a good sign from the GoPro. And it's really pretty early in the morning here. 2:15 in the morning, so I probably should put a pin in this and stop the camera, but I'm excited that the little heat sinks, little copper heat sinks with a bit of heat transfer tape, like double-sided sticky heat transfer tape, is doing a really pretty good job. Now, one thing to note here, okay, so I've got about 4 inches before this bump, which is the end of a bolster that goes from the end up, and the other bolster comes up to about here. And so 4 inches before I hit this bump, I'm going to add my last 2 strands here, so that I've got it so it will bump up in diameter, and then this bump will be much less obvious because I added a bump here to make a bigger diameter. Every time you add paracord to this, it goes up in diameter a little bit. But if you too want to build one of your own whips, you're welcome to contact me. Occasionally I teach classes for building whips, but I'm more interested in supporting you and your adventures in whip making than you even know. Because I think every skill is stackable. What you learn in self-discipline and skill building is oftentimes applicable in unusual ways to the next thing you attack and try and learn. You learn a lot about yourself, how much patience you actually have versus how much you think you have, how much time you can stay focused on a task. And I don't know about you guys, but me personally, I can stay on task for whip making for hours. Most tasks I have a hard time even starting, but you can really see the oval nature of this. I put a pin in it, but